WMDT 47 News, live at 11.
It's a problem that spawned over 27,000 reported cases in Delaware alone last year. What measures state officials are taking to combat domestic violence in Delmarva. Plus, a Salisbury therapist admits to a major breach of trust with one of his patients. The latest developments from the courtroom. And a rocky situation gets ratcheted to the next level. The mayor of Salisbury is facing a hefty lawsuit from a former assistant city administrator. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm David Caldwell. Emily Lampa has the night off. More news in less time starts now. 1 in 4 women has been a victim of severe physical violence by an intimate partner in her lifetime. And for men, 1 in 7. It's a problem nationwide, and WMDT's Kelly Rule has more on what's being done about it in Delaware.
Domestic violence.
It is a big problem. I think it's consistently been a big problem for a long time.
A problem that has come a long way in Delaware. At one time, they were the only state that did not allow victims to petition court for a protection from abuse order, which in many cases orders the abuser to stay away from the person being abused.
We now have a very good law that covers gays and lesbians in our law, and that's not always in every state.
But the fight is far from over. More than 27,000 domestic violence incidents were reported in the first state last year. And People's Place, one of the main services in Delaware that work with victims and their families, say their shelters are almost always full.
We actually can't handle the workload of how many people come forward and need help.
I mean, that could be your neighbor, that could be your friend, that could be, your mom.
So, law enforcement, hospitals, and groups like People's Place have joined forces.
We're trying to work really hard on a coordinated response to be able to all work together.
Even so, officials say it's up to the victim to come forward.
A decision that needs to come from the individual themselves. We just need to be open and hopefully that person will disclose to someone and get some help.
Kelly Rule, WMDT 47 News.
Officials with People's Place say they are always looking for more resources, especially financially, so they can provide hotel stays for victims before being able to get them into a shelter. And just one of the other ways to help stop domestic violence is as simple as handing in an old phone. Through Hopeline, you can donate wireless phones and accessories in any condition and from any service provider to your local Verizon wireless store. They're refurbished and resold to domestic violence agencies for clients to feel safer and less isolated. For more information on how to donate, plus how you can help out local victims of domestic violence, just head over to our website.
WMDT 47 News First Forecast.
Good evening, I'm meteorologist Stephen Shively filling in for Travis tonight, and we had a dreary day across the eastern shore, cloud cover and cool conditions. In Salisbury, our high was 58 degrees, but that number's a little misleading because that high temperature was actually reached at 1 a.m. yesterday morning. Highs in the afternoon hours were more in the low to mid 50s, and that's kind of how it was all day long. Precip-wise, not too impressive in the rain gauges. As you go farther north, there were some higher rainfall totals. Dover got right around a quarter inch of rain. But as of right now, the rain showers and cloud cover long gone. We're slowly starting to see clearing skies right now, but much colder conditions right now, already down to 45 degrees in Salisbury, and those temperatures will continue to drop. We're going to have a cold next few days. I'm going to have those details and more a little bit later on, but first, back to you, David.
All right, Stephen, thank you. Tonight, the city of Salisbury and Mayor Jim Ireton face a $750,000 lawsuit. It was filed by former Assistant City Administrator Dr. Lorraine Chambers, seeking compensation after alleged physical and emotional abuse at the hands of the mayor. Documents obtained by WMDT allege that on the day of Dr. Chambers' firing, she was verbally berated and physically blocked from leaving her office by the mayor. She claims when she tried to remove herself from the situation, Ireton physically stalked, yelled, and attempted to intimidate her. Dr. Chambers is seeking damages for what she describes as pain, suffering, shame, and humiliation. The mayor responded with a statement saying, quote, "When the time arrives, the lawyers will be filing papers denying the allegations. I have faith in our city charter, code, and employee handbook, all of which have been followed," end quote. Ireton goes on to say that he will fight to protect taxpayer money during the lawsuit. For his full statement, log on to WMDT.com. Now, because the city is also named in this lawsuit, we reached out to Council President Jake Day, who tells WMDT that this suit is upsetting because the council has no say in the hiring and firing of employees. In a major breach of trust, a former therapist at the Three Lower Counties Health Clinic admits to hurting a patient in his care. WMDT's Cody Leibowitz was in court for the trial of Clarence Green and brings us the details from today's proceedings.
Clarence Green will no longer work as a licensed therapist in Maryland. He forfeited that right to avoid possible time behind bars. Instead, the 58-year-old man pleaded guilty to assaulting a woman this past February.
She did not want to be put through a trial. So the idea behind the second-degree assault was it would give the defendant, Mr. Green, a conviction.
In April, when patient Nicole Jolly alleged that Green had sexually assaulted her months before, his employer, Three Lower Counties, fired him. In May, he was arrested. On Wednesday, a Wicomico County Circuit Court judge placed Green under probation, avoiding jail as long as he does not break the law in the next 24 months. Also, he won't have to register as a sex offender, a ruling made in part because he had no prior convictions, but also because the victim requested that she didn't want Green in jail as long as he never worked as a therapist again. A letter from Nicole Jolly to Clarence Green was read to the courtroom by the assistant state's attorney and read in part, "Your inappropriate behavior has had a serious impact on my life. You used me and used my vulnerability against me. I hope I never see you again in life."
Therapy was benefiting her and has benefited her for a long time, and she did like him as a therapist up until this breach of trust.
Cody Leibowitz, WMDT 47 News.
WMDT placed a call to TLC, but no one was available for comment. Green and his lawyer declined to comment on the matter. Now, Green originally faced sex offense charges dropped at the accuser's wishes, but other therapists have been convicted on similar charges. Some victims are banding together to fight back through legislative recourse. The group, known as Lynette's Law, already helped pass a bill last year legalizing criminal background checks for mental health professionals. But their other bill, directly addressing sexual abuse on mental health clients, failed in the Senate. They plan to rework it. Instead of a fourth-degree sex offense, therapist abuse would become a felony.
When you're abused by a mental health professional, it can make it very difficult for you to trust any other professionals. And currently there isn't help out there when this happens to people.
On top of passing the law, Heather Sinclair says she plans to start a nonprofit called National Alliance Against Exploitation by Professionals in hopes to help victims further. Elsewhere in the courtroom, former Delaware State Senate candidate Eric Bodenweiser, who stands accused of molesting a boy over 20 years ago, was supposed to have a final case review today, but it was canceled. The court is awaiting a decision on a motion to suppress a transcript. Consequently, the court also postponed the trial date, which was supposed to be next week. So far, no rescheduling information has been released. 2 Seaford residents have been charged in what federal authorities say was a multi-million-dollar scheme to file fraudulent tax returns on behalf of prison inmates. Authorities say Kamal James and Crystal Hawkins, who reportedly lived in both Delaware and New Jersey, allegedly ran a tax preparation business called Release Refunds that sent advertising flyers to prisoners or those about to be released. The pair apparently promised tax refund money in exchange for customers sending in signed but otherwise blank IRS forms. And for the latest on any of these cases, make sure to check out our website, WMDT.com. Some Salisbury University students are teaming up with city officials to spark a multifaceted community conversation. It's called Ignite Salisbury, and it will feature a diverse group of 16 speakers, each having 5 minutes to speak on whatever topic they want. Their goal, to spark positivity and create an ongoing dialogue between young professionals and older members of the community that will continue long after the event.
We're giving them this medium to talk about what they're doing, what their passions are, what's their idea, whether it's big or small.
A lot of talk about different topics that are happening in the community, like community service and nonprofit organizations.
The event will be held on Thursday, November 14th at the downtown Salisbury Firehouse. And now to the stories making headlines across our nation this evening. The city of Danvers, Massachusetts is mourning the loss of a popular high school teacher after police say she was killed by a student. John Frick has more on the tragic scene.
14-year-old Philip Chisholm stood in an adult criminal court on Wednesday as the charges against him were read.
It is alleged on 10/23/13, Mr. Philip Chisholm did assault and beat Colleen Ritzer with intent to murder such person, and by such assault and beating did kill and murder such person.
Colleen Ritzer was a 24-year-old teacher at Danvers High School in Danvers, Massachusetts, where Chisholm was a student.
He's quiet, just kept to himself. I mean, probably because he's new to this society, but I mean, he's a good kid. He didn't seem anything bad, like nothing out of the ordinary, just a quiet, normal kid.
But police think he killed Colleen Ritzer and then dumped her body in the woods behind the school. That discovery was made after a search began for Chisholm, who was reported missing that same day. The family of Colleen Ritzer is asking for privacy. In a statement released on Wednesday, the family says everyone that knew Colleen knew of her passion for teaching and how she mentored each and every one of her students.
Enough about her. She was always the teacher to go the extra mile for students.
Chisholm was arraigned on a murder charge and ordered to be held without bail. His attorney argued he should not be charged as an adult, but a judge has yet to rule on that matter. Staying in Massachusetts, lawyers for the surviving Boston Marathon bombing suspect, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, are fighting to gain access to records that implicate his dead brother in a 2011 triple killing. According to prosecutors, a friend of Tsarnaev's older brother, Tamerlan, alleged that Tamerlan took part in those killings. The younger Tsarnaev's lawyers are arguing that the records provide mitigating information that's critical to his defense, but prosecutors say it's an ongoing investigation and it could be harmful to make that information accessible. Still to come tonight, we have another food recall to tell you about. Find out if the tainted product is sitting in your fridge. And as we approach the 1-month mark of the new healthcare overhaul, technical problems persist. The latest on repairs to healthcare.gov in your Family Health Report.
Find these stories and more at WMDT.com.